everyone, again, my name is 𝔻𝕠𝕟'𝕥. I am the Assistant Secretary of the Brooklyn NAACP branch. I am also the Educational Committee Chair, and I would like to introduce you all to Antron or Tron Sykes. So I'm just gonna let you know a little bit about him, and then he can talk a little bit more about what he does, and then he's gonna introduce his book to us all. And then if you all have any questions via Facebook or in the Zoom chat, I will ask those questions, and then we'll close out our meeting. So, Antron Sykes, born December 19th, 1991, also known as Tron, he's an author, an illustrator, and an educator. Amidst the global pandemic, Tron drew on the experiences of essential workers to write and illustrate his first of many books entitled My Heroes Don't Wear Capes. With his art, he hopes to uplift everyday people as well as to inspire a generation of youth to feel empowered and to see themselves represented through his stories. So friends, I would like to introduce you to Antron Sykes.
Hello, thank you for that introduction. I'm so happy to be here. So I just want to tell you a little bit more about myself and of course my book, My Heroes Don't Wear Capes. I've been an educator, a public school educator for about 7 years now, working in lower elementary. But my experience with children goes way beyond that, back to my teenage roots, as I've always been either a camp counselor or a mentor and things of that such. I've been very passionate about art as a child. Like, I feel like art gave me reprieve. It gave me escape. It allowed me as an introvert who was an introverted child to really express myself. And becoming a teacher, I feel like my story really came back full circle because through education, through art, through learning, through experiencing my children, my students, look at me, my children, because they are truly my children. My students experience read alouds and how they react to that and how they yearn to connect to the characters. But of course, as we know that at least now we have the luxury of more books of color being present, but it wasn't always that way. So one of my goals has always been to create something that my students can read and see themselves in, as well as be inspired by and continue to go from that. And while this book, My Heroes Don't Wear Capes, wasn't initially my first book, I literally was writing a book in class as I was doing a writing assignment, and my students would give me feedback. You should do this, you should do that. Through that experience, I really realized that the students are like what give me fire, what are my inspiration to continue to create. But while this pandemic happened and I had all this spare time at home and I was working remotely, and, we of course had saddened news with losses that I'm sure we've all experienced. I thought to myself, what is something when this whole thing is actually over, I want to be remembered. And I want the message for all of us to know is that our heroes don't wear capes. Because while, it's easy to look at social media and see the glamour and, and as a child, you might think of like a superhero as someone with powers and things of that sort. I really want my students and anybody who picks up this book to really understand and give the people their roses while they can smell us, while they can smell them. The essential workers, the everyday people who really come together during these hard times to, support each other and uplift each other. So I really want that message to hit home to those all over. And this book, which really drew deep, it's not just about everyday heroes such as like grocers and firefighters, police officers, or even just your mom or dad, because they are your hero as well. That's my first hero, my mom, by the way, Christine Sykes, shout out to her. But this book really does even, it's current with the current times because it has a social justice lens to it as well, because we have heroes that are on that front line to this day who are fighting for our equality and our rights. So I really wanted to take that time to highlight that as well in the book and really show that the students that heroes look like us, they look like everyday people, and that even some of the tragic brothers and sisters we lost, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, his anniversary of his death just came up the other day. It's like, those are heroes as well. They were someone's hero. They had heroes who were their moms. And even now, although it's unfortunate the circumstances, the social justice fight right now is more important now more than ever. And of course, as far as changing laws and things like that. So that's what my book came about. Do we have time to share the book, or should I take questions? Can
I think you have a few minutes if you would like to share a couple of pages of the book.
So I can share a few pages of the book, of course, just to show you just some of the illustrations of what I mean by these people in this book are people I know personally. These weren't just made up characters. These are everyday people who are actually heroes to us, of course, in everyday professions. So let me just share my screen and I'm going to show you a few pages of the book. The cover has my mother as a child. She was a Southern girl in North Carolina. It makes me think of, and she grew up in, 1960s, 1965, where we had, Jim Crow and all those things just at the peak of that. So what she endured, like, she's definitely a hero to me, and I'm sure many of you can relate who have mothers and fathers. If we look through the pages, this is just my sister. That's my sister. This is my school safety officer. That's my nephew, actually. His dad is a hero to him for many reasons. But I really want to take you through to what I meant about the social justice lens. So we have, everyday people. These are all people who are in the profession during this pandemic who continue. This is where we start to see some of that social justice. I really have that to really show that current time. I want students to see that in the book because, I'm sure there's not many books that really have that reflected. So to show that Black Lives Matter, to really bring that home, to show unity amongst us. Of course, we know we need reform to policing and things like that, but we need to also depict that in the book. And now I'm going to scroll towards the end of the book. We have Kobe Bryant, who's a hero in many ways, not just down to sport. Before he's a basketball player, he's a father. We have George Floyd, who I just got choked up on that, but he's a hero to his daughter. He's really, he's a hero. Then on this page was really deep because it took me a while to make it, and each time as I illustrated each of the lives we lost, whether we come from Alton Sterling to ℍ𝕒𝕣𝕠𝕟 to Michael Brown to Trayvon Martin to Mary Rice to all the many ones we lost. I want our students to see these people and know that while their lives were lost, that they were just like us. They are heroes. They are important. I want my students to know about them. I want them not to be kept under a shelter. I want them to also understand what's going on. Of course, take it in an appropriate amount of time with age length and things of that sort. But I want that to be represented. Ahmaud Arbery running. This page says the marathon continues because while we've lost our brothers and sisters, the fight is going to continue. It's still going to go on. We're still going to say their names. They're not going to be forgotten. It's not going to just be a trend, a hashtag on social media. You forget about it. These are people I think about every day, and I'm sure many of you do as well. Then I wanted to end the book off on a note of the heroes of the past and present, and to really represent the men and women who are heroes to us, who inspire us to be great. So that's why I really want to end off on that note and represent. And this image was created before just thinking about the Capitol riots, and it's like crazy to think about how so much has gone on just in DC in that spot where you think about Dr. King's speech. And I really want our students to really see and understand the history behind just these people, these historic figures, as well as everyday people. Now I'll stop sharing my screen, and if anybody has any questions, of course, I'll be able to take questions now.
I'll just say, Antron, thank you for sharing your story with us. I'm going to use the Q&A to facilitate, I'm going to use the Q&A to share some of the questions. I also want to share some of the comments that people are saying. If you can't see them, they are saying that they are beautiful illustrations and it's inspirational with a lot of creativity. So I want to also thank you for your intentionality in putting this book together and noting the heroes that we see throughout this generation. And past generations. So one of the questions that we have is, what age group do you recommend this book for?
I would say, Lucy, I would recommend this book even for elementary and up. I say that because while there are such symbolic and rich imagery, it reads as a poem. So even if you were to read through the book, you can still take away something from it, and you can still teach around it and introduce it. Of course, we don't want to get too deep into how some of these tragedies happen, because I feel like some of those conversations need to start at home, of course. And of course, we still need to bring that into education as well, because I feel like it's my job as a teacher to keep my students informed. They need to not only know who the vice president is, who the president is, and who they were, but they need to know current events. So and I really wanted to put this in the book because while we do want to shelter our children to an extent, we know that with media and with so much going on with access to technology, now almost every kid in the city has a tablet. There's so much things that you could just pop up and see on the screen. So I think it's our job to really inform our children, not just to, give them the sugarcoat, but really inform them and let them know how to depict between, and make those choices and decisions, inform them wisely, and of course, appropriately according to their age. But I think this book is for every age because the message is transcendent amongst all ages.
Awesome. So we have about 2 minutes left. But we have we have two questions. So the first question is, have you partnered with any schools or teachers to get this information out? And then the second question is, where can I get this book from? So you can definitely plug your website and
Yes.
places.
So I'll plug the website in chat. So I'm currently still reaching out to plenty schools. I'm still building onto that emailing list. But yes, I have a few schools that I've personally worked with, as well as I'm a Teach for America court member alumni. So they have a wide range of schools that I hope to continue to work with and really get this into as many hands as possible, because I really want these Black and brown boys and girls to really have this to hold and really see themselves as well as in. You can order this book on Amazon. It'll be available March 4th on Amazon. I'll plug the link to my website. Right now, you can pre-order for an ebook if you want to read it on tablet or a digital copy. It'll be at a discounted price. It'll be $14 on Amazon March 4th. I'll put the link right now for my website so that you can.
I'll add it in here.
Oh, yes.
Thank you so much, Tron. That was a very interesting and inspiring book. We truly appreciate you sharing, and I'm pretty sure that you will definitely get folks willing to purchase that book and support and share it with their students in their lives.